shameful fool!
In death, no trees shall bear fruit, nor flowers bloom in the gardens of the netherworld. Rise to right the turns of fortune, rise to shed the wrongs of sin, rise to live your life again. Embrace the life that wakes within. You have been reborn once more, a second chance to settle your score.
Of the 5 regional lords, Harumasa is probably the most broken as an ally. An old one-eyed ninja who speaks in rhyme, living atop Mount Osore, Harumasa has the ability to bring the dead back to life, and keep them anchored in the living world through the burning of restorative incense. While this stage is pretty unexciting, the battle against Harumasa is much different. In battle, Harumasa carries a ninjato for close combat and can blast you with spirit flames at a distance, as well as revive several heavily armed enemies to distract you. And while you can parry his flames back at him, his Basara attack will call each enemy's soul back to Harumasa, as he begins bombarding you with a barrage of spirit flames which cannot be deflected. As an ally, his ability Live Forever prevents you from being killed in battle, but it only works if Harumasa is alive when it happens, and only once per battle. On a side note, Mount Osore is a real mountain in northern Japan said to house an entrance to hell. Osore itself literally translates to either fear or dread. Come to think of it, the Nanbu clan did have control over that area.
You're nothing more than a shameful fool!
Within me is Takeda's spirit, entrusted to me to preserve his fate. In my blood, in my heart, in my soul, it defines who I am! It is my destiny to courageously protect his legacy!
Hot-blooded and reckless, Yukimura is both one of the poster characters of the series and Masamune's rival, and has often been compared to Nero of the Devil May Cry series, especially since his voice actor is the one and only Johnny Young Bosch. In the beginning of Sengoku BASARA 3, we see that in the midst of a battle with Ieyasu, Yukimura's lord, Shingen, falls ill, putting Yukimura in charge of the Takeda clan's army. In his red route, Yukimura, after learning Masamune has allied with Ieyasu, proceeds to ally with Mitsunari to get the chance to battle Masamune at Sekigahara. And in his blue route, Yukimura, doubting his abilities to lead the Takeda clan, goes to seek Yoshihiro for advice. After talking with Shimazu the Beast, Yukimura begins to accept his lord's death, seeking out his own individuality, while pursuing Shingen's goal of uniting the land, ultimately facing off at Osaka against Ieyasu and finishing his rivalry with Masamune, having learned that Shingen is still alive. Yukimura's weapons of choice are a pair of spears, capable of slashing and stabbing, and his attack pattern focuses on constant offense, though the majority of his attacks don't cover much range other than right in front of him. Combined with his element of fire, Yukimura can be quite a glass cannon, especially since his style allows him to get a number of hits on the opponent. Flare Storm spamming anyone? And perhaps as a reference to his straightforward attack range, Yukimura's skills as a strategist are rather poor, since he always charges ahead, forgetting to defend the rear of his army, which gets Ueda Castle invaded by Masamune in his red route. And in his own stage, flooding Ueda Castle, after drowning the moat, you can attack Yukimura from behind, for no other purpose other than this gem of a cutscene.
We are ready! And we welcome all attacks, for there is no force that can penetrate our defenses! So try as you may, you will only know failure! What have I done? I, Yukimura, have foolishly forgotten to defend us from the rear!
Oh, and on the topic of DMC references, I think it's worth mentioning, in Sengoku BASARA 2, one of Yukimura's weapons also happens to be 2 spear versions of Dante's Sword of Sparta. Capcom, you clever little—
You're nothing more than a shameful fool!
There are none in this world that compare to me. The renowned, the feared, Lord Yoshiaki! And let me tell you something. You should consider yourself lucky for finding me in such a good mood.
This man truly is the definition of dapper, and this is coming from a dapper cat.
Ethan, how did you...
Wherever there is a dapper person, dapper cat follows.
Well, I suppose I'll let you stay for Yoshiaki's segment.
Dapper cat is pleased.
Anyways, Yoshiaki's looks can be deceiving. He's a cunning strategist who has gone head-to-head with both Masamune and Kenshin to prove it.
While he isn't playable, he certainly does have an important spot in the game. While he's mostly in Keiji and Masamune's stories since he makes a huge impact in both of them.
Yoshiaki allies with Ieyasu and goes to great lengths to get Mor to join the Eastern Army, including kidnapping Matsu, prompting Toshiie and Keiji to reluctantly follow. However, Ethan, Yoshiaki is playable in Utage, and he even got a story mode.
Which is awesome.
Because Yoshiaki became a very useful character, and though his story is a short one, he's no less entertaining than he was before.
His weapon of choice is a thin blade, and he specializes in multi-stabs, parries, and counterattacks.
This also makes him one of the best characters to use in weapon locks. And have we mentioned this guy's theme yet?
It is easily one of the most glorious songs I've ever heard.
So in your face, but so dapper. Also, as seen in his story mode, Yoshiaki has a bad habit of being shot into the air Team Rocket style.
But even while he's being launched, he does it with style.
After all, this guy is prepared for a long trip. I mean, really, he gets crammed into one of the head of Zavi's cannons and launched seaward.
I mean, seriously, he's up there for days. There's not much else to say, but that mustache.
He's nothing more than a shameful old fool!
Don't use your fists, use your brains. That's the only way to win, right, Tiger?
Out of all the 5 regional lords, this guy is my definitive favorite. What's there not to like about a guy obsessed with kung fu and fights with a tiger by his side? Hirosuna's weapon of choice is a bladed spear, and with it he can create waves of ice or even fire off ice shards like a Tommy gun. And his theme, Tiger Mist Dragon. Just listen. The stage, the Battle of Kanagawa, involves a 3-part plan of his creation. First, sending a tiger on you to test your strength. Then, blanketing the battlefield in fog, limiting your range of sight while surrounding you with foot soldiers and more tigers. And when the tiger handler is done for and the fog dispelled, it's all up to Hirosuna to attempt to defeat you. I'm actually pretty disappointed he never was made playable. Considering you can gain one of his tigers as an ally, it would have worked perfectly to have him playable. But I suppose there's always Sengoku BASARA 4.
He's nothing more than a shameful old fool!
The Maeda clan's rules are guard Matsu, guard
your
Matsu,
skills,
and
most
guard
importantly,
Matsu!
protect the clan's leader. What'd you say? You got them all wrong, Toshiie.
Yes, spots 19 and 18 are a tie between the strongest couple, Maeda, Toshiie, and Matsu. Though, since Matsu scored a bit higher in fighting style, she takes the number 18 spot. These two are held in high regard by their army, seeing Toshiie as a respectful father figure and Matsu as a caring mother figure. Almost always, the two are seen together and make a pretty effective team. In their stage, the Battle of Tedorigawa, you must steal 5 bases to secure the Maeda clan's food supply, or Matsu will be able to heal both her and Toshiie, and Toshiie will protect Matsu if you try to defeat her first. Without any food, Matsu is unable to heal either of them, and Toshiie will be unable to move a few seconds after each attack, making it easier to go after Matsu without Toshiie protecting her. The two were made playable in Utage, and both have some pretty interesting movesets. Matsu's weapon of choice is a Naginata, and she's able to summon animals to assist her in battle, including a freaking bear that she can ride on.
This is lava!
Toshiie, on the other hand, uses a trident and carries a flask, not just for drinking, but also for spewing flaming balls of alcohol and making a flamethrower with the aforementioned spirits. And while his attack pattern isn't as focused on summoning animals as Matsu's is, it's still quite fun to use. However, neither of the two gained a story mode, which surprises me, since one where Toshiie goes up against Yoshiaki to save Matsu would have been very interesting to see.
He's nothing more than a shameful fool!
Expectations. I would keep them low if I were you. The Takeda clan and I can offer you nothing. I'm sorry, but you'd better leave. 'Cause if you don't, I might get angry.
The third ninja on this countdown so far, Sarutobi Sasuke, is a ninja in service of Shingen and later Yukimura. Sasuke can be seen as a male counterpart and friendly rival to Kasuga, in that they both have a double jump that involves a Raven carrying them, use opposite elements, serve rival warlords, and wield weapons connected to their hands by wire. However, Sasuke's are not a set of kunai, but two large shuriken, which do well as both a ranged and close contact weapon. Sasuke can also use his shuriken to pull enemies towards him or vice versa, as well as summon shadow clones to assist in various ways for each of his attacks. However, in the original game, as a non-playable character, Sasuke's appearances were only limited to Yukimura's stages and story, though they were unique in that Sasuke always starts battle by creating clones of himself. Only by defeating the real Sasuke will they cease to exist. Sasuke became playable in Utage and gained a story mode, definitely my favorite of the 8 available. It also happens to showcase 2 of the new stages in Utage, as well as 2 of my favorites between the 2 games. The Satoshi Conspiracy, in which you infiltrate a fleet of Mori ships, and the Osaka Moonlit Battle, where you run across the rooftops of Osaka Castle. Both stages do a good job of making you feel like a ninja. And just as Kenshin is ridiculously broken if you know how to use him well, Sasuke is almost as broken, especially for his ability to create clones of himself, which aid in raking together some pretty impressive combos. Not much else to say other than this. Notice how the majority of his outfit is camouflage? That's how real ninja blend in.
He's nothing more than a shameful fool!
The second you see this guy, it'd be a good idea to run. Tadakatsu is regarded as the strongest character in the series, and unless you're at a high level or playing on easy mode, fighting him or getting in a weapon lock with him isn't the smartest thing to do. Often known among the fanbase as Hondom, this interpretation of Tadakatsu is more or less a Gundam. Almost always seen by Ieyasu's side, Tadakatsu is often unleashed on the enemy to suddenly turn the tides in battle in favor of Ieyasu, or as seen in some of the Sekigahara stages, summoned to aid Ieyasu in battle. Tadakatsu's weapon of choice is a drill spear, and his fighting style revolves around switching between various modes that focus on different sub-weapons of Tadakatsu's. Support mode summons drones to automatically attack enemies. Dash mode allows Tadakatsu to use his spear for both short and long-range dash attacks. Artillery mode allows you to aim and fire off several rounds from the 2 cannons on his back. And shock mode summons a column of lightning. His super arts also combine many of his attacks. For example, artillery mode can be combined with flight mode, allowing Tadakatsu to fly over the battlefield and blow whatever may be on the ground to bits. And then there's heavy mode, which restricts Tadakatsu's movement but completely changes his attack pattern, making his spear an effective lightning cannon. As for his personality and story mode, Well, Tadakatsu never speaks aside from various machine noises, yet Ieyasu and Yoshiaki are somehow able to interpret this. The story mode has Ieyasu assigning him to secure one of 3 potential allies for the Eastern Army: Yoshiaki, Tsuruhime, or Kanbe. Depending on your choice, Tadakatsu spends most of the time in his story in North, Central, or Southern Japan, respectively. And, along with Yoshihiro, Tadakatsu has a special route in his story, the Challenge route, in which
The invincible Kanetsugu!
challenges the 2 warriors to see who is the greatest warrior in the land.
More than a shameful fool!
I have lived and fought through many wars, and witnessed their results. The foulest of all being how they sever the bonds that unite us. It is time I changed that. I stand unarmed to offer a challenge, so that we, from here forth, may never again fight our brothers!
Sengoku BASARA 3 expanded upon Ieyasu's role in the series significantly. In the previous entries, Ieyasu was just a young spear-wielding general with a desire to unite the land. However, nobody took him seriously, so he served under Nobunaga, and later Hideyoshi. However, when Hideyoshi went mad with power, Ieyasu stood up to him, and in a battle between the two, killed him, setting the events of Sengoku BASARA 3 in motion. Now a bit older, Ieyasu has ditched the spear, now fighting with nothing more than his bare fist. Among the cast, Ieyasu is the most balanced, and many of his attacks have varying attack power based on how much you can charge them. You can also taunt by pressing the select button. And why did I just now feel like mentioning that, you ask? Well, by doing so as Ieyasu, he puts his hood on, reducing the charge time of his attacks for the duration. As for his story, Ieyasu, the commander of the Eastern Army, is actually reluctant to fight and kill his old ally, Mitsunari, despite the fact that Mitsunari openly declares he has no problem doing the same to Ieyasu. And while Ieyasu slowly accepts the fact that the battle will not end until one of them is dead, following the battle, he dismisses his own men to mourn the loss of his old ally. As for his blue route, Ieyasu takes a risk and decides that he can prevent Sekigahara from happening by challenging Mitsunari early on, before either army has time to gather allies. But Ieyasu still feels bad for having killed his old ally, and decides to repent for what he has done by unifying the country, as Hideyoshi wanted to do while he was alive. And Ieyasu's blue route proceeds to split into 3 different ways of unification. Unification with his fists.
I am a man! More than a shameful fool!
You know what the problem with most ninja in fiction happens to be? They talk too much! Isn't part of being a ninja to be a silent assassin? Anyways, Kotaro is a ninja in service of the Hojo clan, and does whatever he is commanded to do by Ujimasa without question. Never once saying more than 3 ellipses, this can actually lead to some pretty hilarious situations. What makes Kotaro unique is his ability to double jump, dashing through the air on the second jump. While in the air, Kotaro can combo opponents infinitely even after they're out of health. Equip all 4 parts of his Wind Rider accessory, and every hit in mid-air counts as 3, making Kotaro a powerful character in the air, though it takes some practice. All in all, Kotaro is pretty much the ideal ninja. Doesn't complain and always accepts orders, though at times you can tell the Hojo clan relies on him a bit too much.
He's nothing more than a shameful fool!
What is it that you fear the most? Your own death? or the shame of defeat. Either way, know that there is nothing we fear. Nothing at all. We are the Saica faction. Prepare to face us if you dare.
To say Magoichi has quite an arsenal would be an understatement. The leader of a group of mercenaries known as the Saica faction, Magoichi remains neutral before allying with either the Eastern Army or the Western Army, and the red and blue routes of her story follow her allying with Ieyasu or Mitsunari respectively. And while her red route is rather uneventful, aside from gaining Keiji's attention in several attempts to woo Magoichi, her blue route is much more interesting, since we see some distrust between Magoichi and Mitsunari, despite the fact that the Saica faction was allied with Hideyoshi during the siege of Odawara. Also notable is that Motochika refers to Magoichi as Sayaka, a name Magoichi prefers not to be called. Well, in her gray route, it's revealed that Sayaka was her original name, and Magoichi was the name of her mentor. When Nobunaga murdered him, Sayaka took on his name in honor, and in her gray route, she kills the revived Nobunaga in his honor. As for her fighting style, Magoichi's is one of my favorites. She carries several types of firearms, including pistols, a shotgun, a machine gun, and even a bazooka that shoots homing rockets. While most of her attacks temporarily use something other than the pistol, she can switch between the pistol and the machine gun, the latter of which dominates all her attacks until you switch back. And though I said Kenshin's Basara attack was my favorite, Magoichi's is also quite impressive, having her throw her entire firearm collection into the air and somehow getting them to fire in midair. And out of all the characters, Magoichi's got my favorite catchphrase, quite fitting for someone as prideful as Magoichi.
Hear us now! We are the Saica faction! The red bell rings. The pact we have made shall be known to all! Let it toll! Let the bell call out across the land!
He's nothing more than a shameful old fool!
Yeah, I know. It always seems to turn out this way for me. I'm positive my luck would be better. If only I didn't have this damn thing holding me back. I got a lot of pent-up anger I need to take out. And seeing as you're the only one here, you better brace yourself.
Familiar with the trope, the chew toy? Kanbe is probably one of the best examples of this. Seriously, the rest of the world probably exists so that his plans never succeed and he's never able to free himself from his cuffs. The only thing he's lucky to have is his life. Kanbe is a strategist who formerly served Hideyoshi and spared Ujimasa his life at Odawara, though he has his own ambitions of ruling Japan, which also got him imprisoned and shackled. Despite this, Kanbe has learned to use his shackle and weight as an effective ball and chain. In his red route, Kanbe attempts to set his plan in motion, but is held at Modonari and Yoshitsugu's mercy, who treat him like trash and use him to build up support for the Western Army. However, quickly becoming fed up with this, Kanbe rebels and kills Modonari and proceeds to charge straight into the Battle of Sekigahara, defeating Yoshitsugu, Mitsunari, and Ieyasu in one fell swoop, as well as finding the key to his shackles from Yoshitsugu. However, as if it couldn't get any better for him, Kanbe has the key snatched by a hawk before he can reach it. And in his green route, Kanbe allies with the other punching bag in the series, Ujimasa, to take over the country, and succeeds, despite still not being able to get his cuffs off. Kanbe also plays a big role in other stories, such as stealing Osaka Castle from Mitsunari or allying with Yoshihiro and Muneshige to claim Kyushu as an independent country. As for his attack pattern, it centers on moves that end up causing some harm to Kanbe as well. Holding the normal attack button allows Kanbe to begin swinging his shackle in circles, though holding it for too long will make him dizzy. Other attacks have him attempt to bust his shackles, falling on his side, attempting to blow his shackles up, and accidentally flattening himself up against a wall. As humorously as his bad luck is portrayed, can't help but feel sorry for this guy.
He's nothing more than a shameful old fool!
May blood rain down, baptizing me, absolving me, allowing me to purge the traitors from these lands. I beg of you, grant me permission to slaughter these foul men. Mogami Yoshi, it is in your name I fight until the end.
How far can loyalty take a person?
When it comes to Ishida Mitsunari, it can take someone pretty far. In some cases, too far.
After being praised by Toyotomi Hideyoshi for his skills in battle, Mitsunari comes to worship Hideyoshi like a god, even when Hideyoshi starts to become drunk with power.
Then, however, in the battle between Hideyoshi and Ieyasu, Hideyoshi falls, and Mitsunari is there to see it. And when he attempts to challenge Ieyasu, his mentor's murderer flees.
Mitsunari, blinded with rage, then becomes obsessed with avenging his lord's death, pitting half the country against Ieyasu at Sekigahara.
And it is there that Mitsunari encounters Ieyasu, the one who has taken Mitsunari's alliances, the country's will, and his sanity, and Mitsunari puts everything he has in executing Ieyasu for his crimes.
And even though Mitsunari finally avenges Hideyoshi, he's become so obsessed with revenge that he doesn't know what to do next, especially since, unlike Ieyasu, he has no desires of unifying or ruling Japan.
And thus Mitsunari achieved his goal. But what was next for him, he didn't know, and wouldn't know.
And in his blue route, Mitsunari's loyalty is put to the test when Masamune insults Hideyoshi. And as Mitsunari seeks to punish Masamune, the Western army slowly falls apart.
And when Mitsunari kills Kojiro, Ieyasu, and eventually Masamune, he is once again left with nothing.
And here we get to Mitsunari's fighting style. Mitsunari's weapon of choice is the Rage Blade, a sword with absurdly high attack speed which specializes in multi-slash attacks.
If you've played Devil May Cry, you'll notice many Virgil similarities. He has a teleport known as Flash, and when he ends any special move, if you hold strong attack, he'll flash, and you can cancel nearly anything from it, leading to some devastating combos. Seriously, it's no problem to even take out Tadakatsu with these combos.
And even if you suck as Mitsunari, you'll still look cool and be able to chain together some impressive combos, especially once you've mastered how to use Flash.
Not to mention, his 0-1 triangle move is an army killer, and all of his supers are effective. You have no idea how satisfying it is to kill a general with decapitation.
And then there's Reverence, where Mitsunari starts out with slow but powerful attacks, but builds up speed with each successful hit.
Just be careful about tripping. Oh, memories of that. Also, Mitsunari has the god known as Troy Baker for his voice actor. While he whines a lot, he's got plenty of reason to, and is easily one of the most fun characters to play as, warranting a spot this high on this list.
Just never insult Hideyoshi around this guy. Even if he was kinda lame.
Shut up! What would you know, fool? Take it back! I have never strayed from the path he set for me!